Hi, my name is Erica Asimwe.
And I'm Richard Taylor.
And welcome to the Crossing the Raging River podcast. And over the last few episodes, we've talked a lot about different things. And the last episode was about what, Richard?
We were talking about something quite exciting, the power of abundant leadership. How even when you work in a really difficult context where maybe it's even been post-conflict or you're facing challenges of dependency, intractable poverty, that there are ways of actually helping to bring people forward to a much better place. There are ways to cross that raging river. We really started that conversation.
And today we are going to be diving deeper in one of the ways you can do that. Practically, because I think we've shared a lot of concepts and ideas, and people are saying, how does this really work? How can I put it in practice? Do I just start telling people you can, I am going to empower you and give all these motivational talks? But they're actually tools that you can use to go about this, especially when today we'll be focusing on the idea of how we can move from the indignity of dependence to the dignity of dependence, or the dignity of
the dignity of agency. Yeah.
The dignity of agency. I was going to say from the indignity of dependency to the dignity of dependence. It was going to be the same thing. So how can we do that? And there is an approach that we have found very useful called the asset-based community development approach that really teaches us on how to focus on what we have today in our hands. And that's the title of our episode
What
today.
do you have in your hands?
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's what we'll be talking about. And
I'm excited.
yeah, and I'm really looking forward. But before I go a little deeper, I think in the last episode you touched a bit about one of my favorite stories about Jesus. And it's the story of feeding the 5,000. I want to pick a few things from there because it's going to really be a basis of what we speak about today. So there's a challenge, a big challenge. So that's how everything starts. There's a challenge. There are 5,000 people that need
Too many people
that need to be fed. So what do the disciples say?
They say to send them away.
We send them away because they're a problem. So that's the first thing. One of which disciple was it who felt like these people are actually a problem to us. It's too much for us. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and for the disciples, the only obvious solution was you don't have enough resources.
Yeah.
They have to go.
They have to go. And Philip actually said, even if we worked for one whole year, our wages would not be enough to feed these people. So he had an idea that we can do it, but it would take many, many years.
That's true.
And even when they suggested that we have 2 loaves, they were not looking at the 5 loaves and the 2 fish as a solution. They were just saying, it's here, but it doesn't mean anything. You remember that, right?
It can't solve our problem.
It can't solve our problems because it's not worth, the challenge we have ahead of us. But I really like Jesus' approach there. He could have provided a solution, couldn't he? He was Jesus.
Yes.
God in flesh.
Just called down manna from heaven.
We have seen it happen.
Yes.
We have seen that happen so many times. Jesus could have done that. But he wanted to invite people into a solution. And he wanted the solution to come from them.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. That's really interesting.
Because he would have done it, but then he asked them so that they can play a role in providing a solution.
So they can be part of it.
Yes, so that's what the ABCD is about. I feel like Jesus played an example. He showed us. He said, the solution is among you.
Another interesting thing that you said is that I thought about is who was the one who he asked to provide the solution? Was it one of the men who was there?
No, it was not one of the disciples. It was one of the children. Actually, someone who is least valued.
In fact, sometimes they say that when they said there was 5,000 people there, they used to only count the men. Yeah. Not also the women and the children. So there would have been even more. Yeah. And it was one of those who may not have even been counted who was the one who became the solution.
That also shows that sometimes the solutions we're looking for come from the people that are least expected. And as leaders, when we are embracing this mindset of abundance, we have to look at everyone that God has placed among us as gifted and as having something to contribute.
I love that.
So in summary, today we'll be going a little deeper in that whole concept of using what we have in our hands.
Now, Erica, I know this is a subject that you are very passionate about, ABCD, or asset-based community development, and you've trained a lot of people, impacted a lot of people who have taken these principles and utilized them. But I have a question for you. You know, how did you become so passionate about this asset-based approach?
Yeah, I think I would like to say it has not always been the way I did things, you know. Like others, I was presented the option of starting with the needs. I always looked at the people that God has placed in my way as people with problems who need solutions. That's how I always started anything. That's how I've seen other people. I saw other leaders before me who were working in the social context they would go to the community, look for problems and provide solutions. Because that's the most common approach. It's called the needs-based
I think
approach.
It's like we've just been taught to do that. Even the way we're educated, it teaches us to do it that way.
Yeah, just to look at everything from a place of emptiness, from the half empty part of what is there. So I started from that. I remember God calling me to serve my community right after graduating from university, and I moved to Rwanda. I was also not it was not a comfortable position for me, having to have fled for the second time as a refugee, coming to a country for the first time. I was facing my own personal challenges, but I'm glad that God opened up my mind to say, regardless of the challenges you're facing, the things that you can do to contribute in your community. So ideally, I started out with a good intention. I feel like that's where everybody starts from.
That's right.
A good heart. Nobody goes to help people because you are intending, okay, I know there are people who do it, but not most people. Not many. All of us start out from a very good place. And I think that's where I started out. I just wanted to help children in my community through basic literacy in reading and writing. So I started there. Started teaching them. I remember my needs analysis was just 2 children. Can you imagine 2 children identified the whole community?
And what did they say?
And they couldn't read, of course. I gave them a book in English. Okay. I was expecting them to fail. I think that's the aim of the needs assessment. You already know what you're looking for. It's usually there to validate your idea.
What you already have to offer.
What you have to offer. So you're not really looking to hear from the people. So even if people say, we did a needs assessment and this is what the people need, who makes the ultimate decision? It's the person who is making the decision.
It's true.
So that's what I did. I made that decision and started teaching children. I started with 2 children. They became 25 and 50. And as I encountered
the children
them,
were multiplying.
They were multiplying. And as they were multiplying, the challenges were multiplying. That's what happens. The challenges multiplied. It was not just about teaching them. There was also health insurance, because some children would get sick and not have access to health. There was also school fees. They did not have enough fees to go to school. There was food, and there was
so you were taking on the burdens of the whole community.
Yes, I was. And I wasn't working. I was just a young person who was doing this out of passion, but the passion started choking me.
Oh, my dear.
It started choking me because there was not enough resources. I just didn't know. I was not a good fundraiser. Of course, the mindset I also had, I must say, was that one day I was going to meet a rich guy, Richard. Richard didn't give me the money. I'm still waiting. I was going to meet a rich guy.
A rich guy named
who
Richard.
was going to believe in this dream that I started and give me the money. So I had the same mindset, thinking that I'm giving and one day somebody else will give to me. And one of the most difficult days was one of the times when we had just been chased by a leader from the place we were working, and we needed to find a place to work from. And one of the parents came to me while I was cleaning that room. We had more than 150 children. In between classes, I was sweeping. And the parent came to me and asked me to pay them to help me sweep. I think that was the breaking point for me.
Why was that the breaking point?
Because I felt like I had given so much to this community.
Oh.
I had given my best. I had given them all the resources. They didn't even know that I was struggling to make ends meet myself. So I thought she would come and offer to help. But she came and asked me for more money.
Even to do a simple thing like sweeping.
I know, exactly. That doesn't require any special skill. So at that point, I really blamed the community for not being grateful. And I think that's when I was introduced to the Abundant Leadership Institute. And I got to learn about a different way of doing these things, that I didn't have to carry the weight of the community. And the biggest shock was that I was to blame. I was to blame.
Well,
it wasn't the community.
But good for you for even recognizing, because often as leaders, we're just blind to those things.
Yeah, I think we're coming back to that. It's about self-awareness, I blamed the community for not appreciating, but I created that dependency by doing everything for them. When there was this problem, I would be the one to solve it. When there was another problem, so they felt like I had it in me to do it. And that's how I say I really regret what I did, because knowing what I know now, I completely disabled that community.
But in doing that and in coming to that realization, God used that to change not only your own life, but now many other people's lives as a result. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So when I joined the Abundant Leadership Institute, I go to learn about the asset-based community development approach, which is a reverse approach. Basically, you start with what is strong in the community.
So what people already have in their hands.
What people already have in their hands. And you'll be amazed at how much more people can do for themselves without your help. There's so many things they can do in that community. And coming back to the statement I said before, if they were alive when you walked in that community, then they must be doing something right. So that's the approach. How do we start from the half full of the community, from what they're able to offer? They have skills, they have capacities, they have histories that have existed for a very long time before you came to that community. And all those are what we call assets, the resources that you can build on. And in that way, you can create a shared vision with them, because they will decide what to do for themselves and also contribute what they want to do for themselves.
And this really works?
It does, because I tried it. I remember the first group of parents that I call the community I disabled. I invited them to come for an ABCD training where we're going to identify the resources they had so they could build a solution. And unfortunately, Richard, they said no, because they felt like, no, why should I contribute when I was used to receiving free things?
It's very hard to move from that dependency to that agency.
Yeah, so I must acknowledge that there are challenges. But I, as a leader, had adopted that mindset of saying, if I know that this is not working, I will not do it again. I did it out of ignorance, but now I have the knowledge. So with the new set of children we brought in, we first invited their parents. And the parents came, and our first encounter was through asset-based community development. We said, we are not here to solve your problems because we know you have everything it takes. And we invite you to come and play a role. And through the asset-based process, they identified resources, and they ended up solving many more challenges than we could have ever solved.
What were some of the challenges that they solved?
So one of the big things we were trying to do was to get children out of school and to get them back to school by finding sustainable scholarships.
Like children who had dropped out.
Who had dropped out, or parents could not afford to pay their school fees. So we could only do so much by raising scholarships for them and teaching them. But when the parents came, they built businesses around that. So they started income generating activities where they could raise money to pay their own children's school fees, raise money to pay health insurance, which we could not pay.
So the parents were doing that themselves.
They did it themselves. So we only played our role. We were teaching them basic literacy, and the parents could then take over. So there was sustainability, and that was not on our heads. So now that freed me as a person. It even created more room for my passion to do many more things, because communities could play a role. Yeah.
In the end, I remember you telling me that it actually also led to a number of community-based businesses.
Yes, many. Actually, the group of parents came and said, we want you to train the whole community, not just us, because this is very beneficial.
That's incredible.
And we trained so many more who created businesses around different passions. And now that community is thriving, not because of us, but because of the community itself. And today, I have not been to that community for a very long time, but every time I meet them, they're still alive, and they're surviving, and they're thriving, and they're proud. They speak of themselves from a place of dignity.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. And so, Erica, as you've sort of learned this yourself, as you've embraced it, as you've seen it impact the lives of the community that you cared about and now spread beyond, I think you've even started an organization, Love in Hands, and you also train within Kurumbuka,
Yes.
in this area, a lot of leaders. And it seems sometimes too like this idea is just spreading like wildfire. Why? Why do people embrace it so quickly?
Well, it's because it actually addresses the core. If you are a leader and you're truly passionate about what you're doing, the real reason we're doing it is because we want to make an impact. And if we really want to make a genuine impact, which is sustainable, in the environment where we are in with scarce resources, this is an approach that is useful for you. So people actually, it helps those who are able to say, I'm wrong and I'm willing to take, to change course. So that's why I feel like it's an answer to many problems. It's an answer to sustainability.
Yes.
We have people who are starting great ideas, and when they finish, everything dies with them when they leave those communities.
Happens all the time.
We have people who, there are many stories we can tell. You buy sewing machines for a group, they sell them. They sell them off. You give someone capital, they call you tomorrow that, actually, I should say that even if I am so passionate about ABCD, there are still people that I'm still giving free things to. And it's amazing how they still call me for the same thing that we solved the previous day. So they will call you, they'll say, okay, now you have to give me capital. I'm going to start this business. Then you give them the capital. Then they say, the capital you gave me is not enough. And I say, I thought the capital was supposed to increase.
Or organizations that drill wells and provide, tractors or things, and then the thing breaks down, but the community has no ownership on that. They call them and they say, come fix your well.
Come and fix your well.
Come fix your tractor.
Exactly. Or they steal the things. In one of the classes we was teaching, one of the leaders was bold enough to say that they set up this big power plant of renewable energy in a certain
Which
village.
Sounds like a good project.
So everybody needs electricity. But he passed by a few years later and found the community leaders cutting down the machines for sale. And he took the picture. Now there's no power in that community.
After all that work.
And the resources that were invested into that.
Because no community ownership.
There was no community ownership.
Wow.
So it comes to solve a real challenge. And I think that's why leaders are starting to embrace it. But I know that there's still some people who prefer the other way, the needs-based approach. So
what would be something that, I know we'll talk about asset-based community development and those principles a lot more in this podcast as we move forward. But what would be a couple of just key principles, because I think people are getting hungry.
Yeah.
For us, it's after lunch, but for other people, they may be getting hungry.
Yeah.
Can you give just a couple of key things, a couple of key principles of an asset-based approach that our listeners can just take away with them, even today?
Yes, but before I give the key principles, I want to cite it among 4 other approaches that are very common.
Good, please.
So there are 4 main approaches that people usually use when they're working with others, when they're bringing development to communities. The first one is the two model. You go to the
2 model.
Yeah, you go to the community and do 2. You go to the people.
You do 2.
To them, yeah. you do things to them. So it can also be known as a medical model. So the assumption there is that these people have nothing to contribute. They are just going to receive. It's like a vaccine. Receive. What happens there? You have to pay for everything, and the sustainability is on you. There's usually no sustainability. The second model is doing 4, which is the most common model. Where we pretend to do a needs analysis. I talked a bit about that, but still ultimately make the decision for them. With that approach, we still have to fund everything. Because we are the ones. If we go,
it's done.
Yeah, we bring external experts and we do everything for them. Then at the end, we try to convince them with a 2 days sustainability training, and it doesn't really work. They don't take ownership. Then the third one we're moving towards, like more positive one, is when you work with the community and they contribute and you contribute and everyone plays a role. Sometimes there's shared ownership. But the asset-based community development approach falls under the buy model, where now it's not about you. It's about the community owning their own challenges and doing things for themselves and inviting you to support where you need to
join what they're already doing.
What they're already doing.
So it's like the community has already built its own fire.
Yes.
And they have it, and it's there, and it's warming. But now you're just bringing some extra fuel.
Yeah. So that's what it's all about. So a few key principles as we are coming to an end is that everyone in the community has something to contribute, regardless of how we label them. you know.
And
'Cause
we
there's-
so often label people as being deficient.
Yes, deficient. This person, sometimes we just name them by their problems. This is poverty-stricken, underprivileged, marginalized, others were youth. They are not capable of doing this. So those labels, taking out those labels and giving people a chance to do it, they have something to contribute, and they have passions. They have something they care about most, and by putting their passion, connecting their passion to what they care about most, they can bring about the most change in their community.
Wow.
And they have capacities, skills. The capacities, I mean, are skills, resources, even things that you would never imagine they can put together.
Your story and what you've seen happen just fills me with a lot of hope, Erica.
Yes.
That even in the toughest circumstances, it is possible for people to really gain a sense of ownership and agency over their development.
Yeah, it is possible. And it's possible for leaders to lead with that kind of mindset, to allow everybody to contribute and to allow everybody's passion to play in the solution that we are trying to bring. I think we can talk all day about this.
We could talk all day. I'm not sure if our podcast listeners would listen all day. Maybe they would.
Maybe they should come back for more.
I think so.
Yeah, so we're coming to the end, and thank you, Richard, for giving me an opportunity to share about myself. And if you want to hear more, please visit our website at kurumbuka.org/podcast to access more resources for you to continue growing as an abundant leader. Thank you.
Keep following along with us, friends, and just think about, what do you have in your hands?